A lot of people believe that world peace is an impossible task to achieve. But what if I told you that they're wrong? I am here to prove to you that innovation could be the answer to world peace. And to do that, I'm going to start us off with a little game. I want you all to close your eyes. Imagine yourself as an astronaut floating in space. You look back at Earth for the very first time. What do you see? Take a moment to imagine. Open your eyes. Now raise your hands if you saw borders. Raise your hand if you saw flags. Now raise your hand if you saw one big blue village floating in a vast dark space. Let me tell you all a secret. When I learned that I was going to represent Canada in the G20 Young Entrepreneurs Alliance, I was at the airport like 6 hours before my flight. I almost helped the cleaning crew prepare the plane. I was that excited. Because in my mind, Justin Trudeau and Obama were picking me up in the airport with a limo, smoking cigars. But when I landed, my cousin Mahmoud's there to pick me up. No cigars, but he's a nice guy. He drives me to the hotel, and that's where I get the chance to meet the other delegates. And you know what the first thing that came to my mind was? Innovation is the language that people from all around the world speak fluently. When delegates share strategies on how to promote peace through innovation, trust me, they don't give a flying fudge about their differences. If innovation is able to unite people from opposing ends of the political spectrum to work together in peace, then can innovation be the answer to world peace? Now say you've been elected as the president of your country, and you've been tasked with innovating a solution to a global problem. What are you going to need? You need resources. Now the funny thing is about resources is that they're scarce, which means that you might not have all the resources you need to create your innovation back home. So what do? Resign? Of course not. You're not going to be the first person to become president in your family and you're going to resign. What are they going to say about you on Christmas? It's not going to be good. So what do? Your best bet is to look across the aisle and seek help from other nations. Scarcity created an opportunity for economic interdependence and trade agreements between nations. Take this example. In 2001, China joined the World Trade Organization. Since then, it's safe to say that China and the United States have had somewhat of a love-hate relationship, but they have never, ever went into head-to-head military conflict. And the reason why I believe that is because these two nations are interdependent. China exports computers to the United States, and the United States exports oil to China. These two nations need each other to thrive their innovation back home. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. If we trace the number of times the US and Chinese politicians use military threats to intimidate one another, we see that that number decreased by threefold since China joined the World Trade Organization. In other words, as trade increased between both of these nations, military threats decreased. Nations with trade agreements engage less in militarized conflict, as doing so hurts the economic gain for both sides. The key takeaway here is economic interdependence is key to preserving peace between nations. Now, what have we learned from this so far? Innovation requires resources. Resources are scarce. Scarcity creates economic interdependence, and economic interdependent nations resolve conflict in peace. In that way, innovation creates peace. Now, why does this matter? I mean, what are we going to do to promote peace between nations We barely get along with our landlord to build peace between countries, you know? So here's a 3-step plan that we can follow, and it starts by understanding different sides of the conflict. The reason why this is so important is because as much as we'd like to think that we prepare our chamomile tea and we sit at night and we go on our keyboard and we try to learn about conflicts around the world, in reality, we usually only learn about them from our friends, our family, or our social media feeds online. So it's important to talk to more perspectives around you so you have a more holistic understanding of the situation and how you can contribute to peace within it. After that, and only after that, can we begin to think about supporting peace-building initiatives. There are many initiatives on ground that are working to address conflict. Pick one that aligns with your values and support it. You can do so by donating your money. You can even do so by volunteering your time. Whatever you choose, your actions really help make a difference. Third, and if you want to really raise your voices louder, you can engage in social media activism. Even if you have one person following you, that account you made for your puppy, you didn't end up posting anything on, you can still use it to engage in content made by peace builders to amplify their voices. You can share content to direct people towards organizations they can support. You can even use hashtags to advocate for change. Hashtag puppies for peace. Catchy. So by understanding different sides of the conflict, supporting peace-building initiatives, and engaging in social media activism, you can use innovation to build peace between nations. But what about us, the people? How can we promote peace between people? That's the difficult part. To answer that, I want to take you all with me on a beach trip to an island called Cyprus. Now, who here has been to Cyprus before? With a quick raise of hands. Beautiful, right? Did you know that Cyprus is an island that has been divided for over 40 years between a Turkish-influenced north and a Greek-influenced south? I didn't either. Not until I went to the G20, and that's where I got the chance to learn about Cyprus Eno. Cyprus Eno is a social innovation hub that used innovation to build peace between divided communities. Let's look at exactly how they did that. Cyprus Eno is an innovation ecosystem that invites entrepreneurs from both sides of the island to work together on the issues that Cyprus faces in common. This technique is known as the common enemy effect. In social psychology, the common enemy effect is when groups of people that are in conflict come together when they face a common threat. By uniting people's attention on the issues that Cyprus had in common, Cyprus Eno was able to build hundreds of startups, hundreds of jobs, and even receive the 2022 United Nations SDG Actions Awards, which is a prestigious award. The key takeaway here is the common enemy effect is an effective tool to promoting peace between people by uniting their attention on the issues they share in common. Now apply this to your own life. How can you promote peace between people that you're in conflict with? Here are 3 tips that I recommend. First, identify common problems you share. Now, if you're fighting your spouse, your sibling, your boss, it doesn't matter. There are things that bother you both in common. No matter how silly that thing could be, use it to build rapport with the person and build your way up to resolving your disagreements peacefully. Second, explore cultures that you might fear. Our preconceived notions about a certain group of people limits our own exposure of the world. Something that helped me challenge my bias was that I started to attend events hosted by cultural associations on campus. And that allowed me to communicate with people from different backgrounds, get free food, and also learn about what other cultures and what other perspectives they had in store. Third, and perhaps most importantly, practice active listening and empathy. If you have a Middle Eastern grandma like me, you know people are as passionate about their point of views as you might be about yours. So instead of judging them for it, let's listen carefully, because doing so allows us to understand why they believe in what they believe in. By identifying the common problems you share, exploring cultures you might fear, and practicing active listening and empathy, you can all use innovation to promote peace between people. Now, before I leave, I really want to get the opportunity to share a story I've never shared on stage before. In the early 1930s, my great-grandfather, Karim Atassi, was the president of Syria. He advocated for religious tolerance between Muslims, Christians, and Jews. Years later, I saw division grow between students of these Abrahamic faiths on campus, especially during moments of rising political tension in the Middle East. Wanting to do something about it, I knew that my journey would be useless if I didn't first understand the issues that they shared in common. Here is what I learned. Many of these students experience marginalization on campus, especially if they practice their traditions publicly. A lot of these students felt that there was a lack of organizations advocating on their behalf. Many of these students identified themselves as Middle Eastern, even though they never stepped foot on Middle Eastern land or held a Middle Eastern passport. They derived their sense of identity from the ancestral roots they had in the region. Despite that, what perhaps took me most by surprise was that when they were asked to identify themselves publicly, they hesitated to express themselves as Middle Eastern. The reason why, when I probed further, I learned was because of the labeled stigma about the political issues of the region. And that, ladies and gentlemen, didn't really sit well with me. I knew that we could do better. I knew that we could make a difference. This is why I led a campaign to create an organization that will promote Arab culture in its true diversity and advocate for Arab Muslims, Arab Christians, and Arab Jews. By innovating a service that would promote the Arab culture and would really advocate for the things that we had in common and address the problems that we shared, we were able to promote harmony and understanding between students of those Abrahamic faiths at McGill. Now, I don't want to pretend that I have the answers to problems that have been going on for decades. Nothing that I say here tonight can heal the intergenerational trauma that we all inherit from such conflicts. As a Syrian-born Canadian, I have lost members of my family simply because of their love for unity and coexistence. However, it is their sacrifice and the courage of those who fight for our rights to exist that I believe has allowed us to sit here as a diverse group and talk about peace. When I was humbled by the opportunity to meet astronaut David Williams, on Zoom, but it was the pandemic, so I'd like to know that I met him, I got the chance to ask him exactly what I asked you. As an astronaut floating in space, you looked back at Earth for the very first time. What did you see? He said, Karim, I saw no borders, I saw no flags. All I saw was one big blue village. The pale blue dot that we call Earth is where all humanity resides. We too often forget that we are all in this together, that we are all human, members of the same species. The message that I really want to leave with you tonight, in case I bored you all presentation, is if we want to continue calling this pale blue dot home, we need to start looking at innovation as a tool to promote interdependence between nations and unity between people. I am confident that through that, we can build a world that is more peaceful for us all. Or at least I pray. May we love peace enough to fight for it, and as for the weapons they use to fight against it, may they all rest in peace. Amen, and thank you.